not a deal, it's an announcement.
Yeah.
But the opposition leader, Pierre Poilievre, has already said that if he were to become prime minister, he would continue to implement this policy. So, you know, I am left to quibble about process. I'm astonished that the prime minister conned the premiers into coming to Ottawa to listen to an announcement he could have sent them by email. That is the furthest thing from executive federalism, the way I studied it back in the 20th century. And I'm amazed by the sort of rhetorical shift. The prime minister and the health minister have spent most of the past month saying that the system is broken and it needs root and branch regenerative change. And they have not begun to put any kind of sum or process on the table that would produce that. The money that's on offer for these sort of separate bilateral side deals, I picked a province at random, Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan's annual health budget is 71 times as much as the feds are offering for bilateral deals. That won't change anything. But so what? I mean, if no one's complaining, I don't get to complain, I guess.
Well, that's why you're here. You can complain if you want. Chantal, your turn.
It might have been different if someone had showed up at that meeting wearing clothes that were not those of an accountant, as in, I want money, and some challenge to the way things work. But everyone showed up basically saying, we want to repeat the same behavior that we've been exhibiting for a decade and a half, and we just want more money to continue to replicate it. So when you look, and here I'm not looking at the federal government, I'm looking at the premiers. If there is leadership to make the fundamental changes that would have to be made to improve the system, it was not on offer at the provincial table. And I do not believe that the federal government, that one or any federal government, is in a position to micromanage change in the Canadian health system.
So to be fair to the provinces, I have talked to enough premiers and health ministers to say that they are doing things to try and fix the system, whether it be recruiting people or setting up
every
team
day, all
care.
the time.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
All of them.
But why is that not
but
something that we can seize on as Canadians in terms of changing or improving the system?
Because that's thinking inside the box. That's setting aside every single report except the Romano report, which said do more of the same, and never questioning some of the fundamental assumptions that underlie the let's hire more people or let's fire more people. It depends which day of the week you're actually talking to provinces in this file. It was the fashion to tell nurses to retire in Quebec a couple of decades ago, and that was supposed to be genius.
Yeah.
And now, we don't have enough nurses, so the genius thing is to find them all over the world. That is not reform. That's basically trying to get to the next election with less bad outcomes.
Or putting a Band-Aid on things. Althea?
Well, that's the problem. The problem is that governments think in election cycles, and the change that we need has to be over the long run, and it requires a lot of investments from the get-go, and that government that implements that change is not going to see a payoff. And so what incentive do they have in the system to do those change, to bear the brunt of, like, changing the way doctors are paid, for example? Like, who wants to go through all those battles and not get to reap the fruits of their labor down